In this video, we're covering a couple of topics. The first one is one of those things that happens to us as trainers when we're asked to go to a workplace for the first time. And we need to organize everything to make sure that the session itself that we plan to run runs smoothly. So what are some of the things that we have to think about when we first approach a brand new location and we need to set up training? Now, this might seem rather straightforward, but have a think through some of the things that we raise here in the lecture and see if there's anything that maybe we left out that you could add to the list. The second thing is about getting supervisor buy-in. Now, the supervisor in this case will be anybody who's in charge of the trainees that we go out to train. So there could be managers, client contacts, human resources, training staff. We need to get them to buy into this training. So there are a few ways we can do that. And there's also probably some things that we've left out here also. So have a think about that.
Again, we're talking about face-to-face training, and this is question 19. So how and who will you arrange with to be there? Okay, so we're talking face-to-face training. So if you have to go somewhere, if they're coming to you, different story. But if you're going to them, how will you arrange to be there? Who do you have to talk to? Will there be parking when you arrive? That's something you need to, as a trainer, be on top of. The who will be attending things really important. Like you've probably seen me before you guys arrive. I always check the attendance to make sure who's supposed to be turning up that day. Makes sense, right? So who's going to be there? If there is a contact upon arrival, who is it and what's their phone number? I can probably tell you how many times. It's been a lot that I've needed the phone number for the person because I go to the venue and it's not open yet. And if you have to get into a secure area, so Mel, if you have to get into a secure area, do you have the access? Do they give you a key card or is someone going to let you in?
I had a situation where I was on a mine site. Nobody had told me that they had planned a scheduled complete emergency shutdown of the entire mine. So nobody was allowed on site. And fortunately, somebody let loose only an hour earlier that, hey, we're all going to have to leave later on. So I had to come up with a plan B real fast because I'd lost a whole half day. So
what did you do?
Fortunately, I got hold of a supervisor and they gave me another training area in town. So We just had to reshuffle everybody real fast. But if I hadn't known about that, I wouldn't have been able to contact anybody. So
when I'm talking about facilitating a workplace, I mean workplace. I don't mean a training room. Other things might be other people in that workplace. So I mentioned before I did some traineeships many years ago. And I had to go to different workplaces. And I remember one of them was at the Brisbane Airport with Royal Flying Doctor Service. And they had their admin staff and they were doing, I think, a diploma of business or something along those lines. And I had to go in there and talk with that one-on-one person while she was sitting in her office with 4 other people. There wasn't a separate training room. We literally just had to sit next to each other and do the training, basically there and then. It just took some organization. We had to make sure that everyone else was aware that they were undergoing training and not to disturb them. So one of the ways we do that, folks, and this is also going to answer another question, question 23, is how do we get their supervisors buy-in? How do we get their boss to help you, not hinder you? The supervisor is a person. So that boss is a person. They have their needs. They have their schedule. They have their interests. So we've got to somehow use those amazing personal communication skills that we have to get their buy-in. This really is it all boils down to your soft skills. The list I've got here will help you answer question 23, but anything else you can think of as well. So you can promote the benefits of the training. So this is what the outcome is if they do this training. Does that excite the boss at all? Is it something they want within their staff? If they continue with the status quo, this will be the result. So that's more of a negative. That's more of a stick rather than a carrot. Talking about current skill levels within their team and again, promoting why this would be a benefit to them. If there are skills gaps and it's noted and that's why they're doing the training, it's just a matter of raising that with the supervisor or the boss and saying, well, this is why we're doing it. Is there anything else you think would be a necessary thing to include in this training? So get them to have that buy-in. If they feel like they're being listened to, you're going to have a much better chance of getting their buy-in. Does that make sense? The last couple here talk about complaints of staff. So it's got to be a very tactical way you approach that, saying that, look, the staff have all asked about this. Tell me what your thoughts are. Again, using your communication skills, your questioning skills. Again, they might not be interested in the ambitions of their staff because everyone's different. They might be, but they might not be. So talking about the ambitions of staff will only really resonate with someone who's probably more empathetic, in which case you're probably not going to have a problem with them anyway. But but it's all about your soft skills, how you approach the boss there. You ask them questions. You don't necessarily tell them they've got to do it. You ask them questions about how would this benefit your team? This is the training we're doing. Would this cover any skill gaps? So the more input they have, the more buy-in they will feel like they've got. And that's how you win them over. So that's really the starting point, folks. So if I go back a couple of slides, we talked about the pathways and barriers, talked about how we'd overcome some of those barriers. We then went into facilitating in the workplace, some of the basic things you need to prepare for and organize before you even go there. And then we talked about, well, once you get there, or maybe even beforehand, how do you get that supervisor buy-in?